coffee and tea. Now pull up and see. How do you lay your welcome to coffee and tea? Have a sip. Welcome to coffee and tea. Cream and sugar. Welcome to coffee and tea.
Good people, welcome to our first season episode of Coffee and Tea. I'm so happy to have you guys here this evening. Let's go ahead and get the viewership up. So, like I always do, I start out by saying, come on, let's share. Let's let people know that we're out here, all of that good stuff. Let the people know that we are all the way live. And then you can let me know where you're kind of watching from. I know some folks at work. I know it's some people doing some crazy stuff this evening. It's Friday. I'm sure y'all out there. We all been snowed in, all that kind of stuff. So I know everybody's out and about. But y'all can go ahead and let people know that we are live. So let me see you in the comments. Say hello, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be a good show tonight. And I'm super excited about not just the person that's coming on to be our guest this evening, but just the conversation in itself. A lot of people, I think, believe that when it comes to healing, that everything's supposed to happen in a particular order, in a particular way. And tonight, I want to be able to help you understand that that may not necessarily be your process. Could be somebody else's, but it doesn't have to be yours. So, before we get started, I want to set a couple of ground rules for us. And those ground rules are this. Rule number 1, we not really rushing towards any conclusion tonight. Like when it comes to the process of healing, some things like the threads are just left a little frayed. So we may have a conversation, we may ask a question, and there may not be a conclusion to it. And you know what? That's okay. Rule number 2 is that there's no pressure to end on a high note. I think sometimes we are so accustomed to like movies and even in real life, like everything has to end on a positive. And in your healing journey, that may not be the case. So we're not even gonna attempt to try to end on a high note. If we do, that's great. If not, that is the nature of the healing journey. Okay. Rule number 3. Rule number 3 is silence is allowed. I may ask a question and my guest may not have an answer. He may need a minute to try to process the answer. I may have a question and it may hit a nerve for me that it may take me a minute to figure out how to form the question. Like silence is okay. Like I know in this digital space, like we always talk about no dead space. But in this particular conversation, dead space is going to be okay. And my last one is a good one, is saying that I don't know yet is a valid answer. So you may ask a question in the comments, you may say something, and I may say, hey, to my guests, there's this question in the comments. Here's the question. We may not have an answer to it. And us saying, I don't know is okay. So with those rules being set, with that parameter being defined, I want to go ahead and bring in my guest this evening. Is somebody who I met through my friend Kevin and the Two Fat Guys podcast. And he has been just a wonderful breath of fresh air and has just become like a really good friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Wade. Hey, Sean,
Hey, Miss Chris.
how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good today. Like it's been when I tell you it's been an emotional day today. Like it has clearly been an emotional day, but I'm super happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being a willing participant.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, let's just jump right into this.
So,
So
what do you want to talk about?
so why don't you give me like the backstory? Like I know kind of where this conversation is going, but why don't you give me like where you were or how you found out or how you responded to this great loss that happened at this particular point in your life.
Responded with anger.
So what was the event?
So, the backstory a little bit. I think I'm following your flow here. Um, I lost my mom in 2023.
Okay.
I was my mom's caregiver. No help from. It was just strictly me. Get off work, take care of whatever she needed. So, as her health declined, that fell to me. And then finally, when she transitioned, it took her seven days to transition fully. And it took 7 days of me pleading with God to be
Mm-hmm.
take her now, end her suffering. Even when she had reached a coma status and the spirit had left the body, but the body was still hanging on, I was like, God, just take her.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed the harder I cried out, like I was having my own Gethsemane moment.
Been there.
And the harder I cried out, it was like tone deaf, like nothing was happening. I didn't want, to wake up and like a magical snap of the fingers and it'd be over with, but I wanted her suffering to end.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer it drew out, the angrier I got. And then, bless her heart, she let me sleep in because I had alarm set for every couple hours to give her medication.
Mm-hmm.
I slept through that alarm. She transitioned while I was asleep.
Oh wow.
So I woke up and I was like, frantic. I was like, oh crap, I'm late, and I ran out there and I was like, I'm sorry, mom, I'm sorry. And I put my hand on her hand and it was ice cold. And I was like, you let me sleep in. Y'all get the tissue ready. We gonna get raw.
So like you had all of this built up anger and then your mom transitioned. So what? Like where were you emotionally at this point?
Drained. It was the hardest thing and I was a caregiver to my dad. I took care of both parents till they passed. Well,
Mm-hmm.
segue. I was drained. It was, this was my mom. And when she finally transitioned and they came to pick her up for her last ride, I will never forget the guy who picked her up because he let me help, which was a closure for me.
Okay.
And, I called the nurse came and she, did all her vitals and filled out the reports and I signed everything I had to. And then I sat there and I was just drained, you know,
Like no relief, just empty?
drained, just empty. When you love as hard and as pure as that, it's just when it's like pouring into an empty cup. Once you pour out, you're empty.
So you said before that when she was going through like the transition in space, like you were telling God,
Angry.
like, look, like let her be, like let her go. And there was a lot of like anger and all that kind of stuff. How was your level of faith in that whole space?
I lost it.
What do you mean lost it?
I lost my faith completely. It was one of those cases where you couldn't, because I felt unanswered, which I know doesn't justify it, but I felt unanswered. Here I was, this Bible reading cliche, Christian, and God didn't hear me.
Mm. And I think we all, especially in like dire spaces, I think we all feel like that. Like I can say when my dad got sick, to a degree, I felt the same way. Like unlike you, I didn't have a really good relationship with my dad. So when he was dying, it was more of a relief that he was going, and God wouldn't take him fast enough for me. And that whole feeling of being unanswered, I resonate with that. So what made you say, okay, God, you wasn't listening, like enough is enough?
It was literally that. It was every day for 7 days straight. Take her, take her. Nothing. I would go to work, and I was still holding down a 40-hour job
Wow.
and taking care of my mom. So the stress on me, and I'm not complaining about it, don't get me wrong. The stress on me, you could literally touch. And it seemed no matter how hard I prayed, no matter how hard I implored, I mean, we're talking like tears were coming down. Like, if I can, I'm trying my best to paint the visual.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what I did, it just wasn't happening. It wasn't an answered prayer. And for whatever reason, and I would stand by her bed, Mom, I got this. I've got people around me. I've got support. You don't have to worry. I'll figure this out. The harder I implored, it was just like, I ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
God's not listening. And I was like, and it became more of my prayers became shouts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what what am I missing? What am I not, what are you not hearing? Why am I enduring this suffering with her? Let her go, let me grieve so I can start moving forward. Or we need a miraculous healing. I was like,
Yeah.
we
Got to give me one end of the spectrum or the other.
you know, one way or another, we got to come to a resolution. And no matter, it didn't happen. And you always hear people talk about your spirit man.
Mm-hmm.
My spirit man was like, you know what? We're done.
Not the spirit man gave up, Sean.
It was just my spirit was broken. I carried my cross. I gratefully carried my cross. I cannot stress that enough. I love my mom to this day, but I didn't get to see that answered prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for 7 days.
Ooh, that's a long time. Um, when you talk about losing your faith, like I think a lot of people look at that as
They
like, oh,
never to begin with.
I just stopped going to church, or I stopped reading my Bible. Like,
Check
what 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 was that for you? Like losing your faith looked like what to you?
that every box you just checked. You couldn't
So
catch me inside of a church. You couldn't catch me. And I love worship music. I love praise music. Delete. You couldn't.
you just done all the way around.
I was done all the way around. My Bible had dust on. Like, you see the pictures, the memes where it's like where it's got dust me written on the back. Mine had a good dozen of dust on it.
And how did that feel for you? Like you
Justified in a sense,
okay? Tell me why.
because, again, I go back here. I was the Christian, who went to church, who listened to praise music, who did everything right. God didn't answer me. What am I? Maybe it's time for me to start exploring what else is in the world.
Hmm. And did you try other things? Like, did you try other religions, or did you like?
Not so much try other religions. I have a bit of a background in Buddhism.
Okay.
So I fell back onto some of the meditation techniques to try calm my mind. But I wasn't, going to the temple or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, okay, you're angry. We need to find a way to channel it, meditate.
Okay. And did that feel like it answered what you felt like God wasn't answering, or didn't
It was
answer
more of a
you?
way to ground myself.
Okay.
To give you an idea of how angry I was, the house we were living in before she passed had three azalea bushes in it. Something came up and choked the first one out, where it only bloomed like in three spots, and it upset my mom
Mm.
because she loved all three bushes because they were pretty when they were in full bloom. I walked outside, saw that one that was dead, grabbed it by the root, pulled it out of the ground.
Good gravy. Those roots be deep though.
All right, it came up.
It it it's hard to fathom. Like I can get being angry about the perception that God didn't answer. And I can understand like trying to figure out how to counterbalance like all of the emotion that you were dealing with. But how were you functioning like in this space of grief and anger and in not too delicate of a term, like in a space where you were upset with God?
Anger's a motivator. I was fueled on rage and caffeine. I mean, that's the easiest way.
It sounded like the other person running on Duncan with the
Mhm.
coffee.
That was my go-to. Or I went to the gym and I would just be in there for 3, 4 hours, just headphones in, just trying to. I worried Kevin half to death.
Were you
I would
married at the time? Seeing anybody? Like
I
how
was
were
seeing
your relations?
somebody, and God bless her for it. She was the crutch. It took me the longest time to understand that part of the relationship
Mm-hmm.
because I've always believed people come into your life for a season or for a reason. She was a seasonal person. Her job was to get me through my mom's passing to the service, and that was it. When we scattered her ashes, that was her role.
Okay.
I didn't recognize that at the time. I was trying to make a seasonal person a long term person.
Okay. Think we've all been there. Um.
So that led me to actually having to grieve twice.
Okay. Because then you now had the relationship to grieve too.
Right, because that ended with no closure. I had to come to terms with that on myself.
And when you say no closure, like you guys just
Ghosted.
okay. It's always fun.
Told you we gonna get raw.
speaking the language,
So the holidays, Thanksgiving,
mm-hmm,
I woke up and the house didn't smell.
mm, your mom cooked all the time.
She hated cooking, but when she cooked, she cooked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I can, for all the ladies listening, I can cook a few things, just putting it out there.
Putting it out there.
Um, I'm willing to relocate. Um, I can cook enough. Like I'm not starving, but I can cook enough.
Hmm.
Mom would make Thanksgiving and it was magical. You'd wake up and the house smelled like a 1950s commercial. I mean, it just smelled wonderful. And when I woke up that Thanksgiving and the house didn't smell, it was eye opening because I knew I still had to get through Christmas.
Did it make you angry all over again?
It didn't make me angry all over again. It sunk me trigger. We're going to talk about depression now. Um, the disassociation was strong. I remember one day I got up. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, ah, it's cold in the house. I'm gonna lay in bed for a couple more minutes. You know, I'm old. My body needs to warm up.
Hmm.
6 hours later, I was still laying in bed, wondering where the day had gone.
Wow.
That was the realization point for me. Okay, you need to get up because I'm a solid 210, 215. By Thanksgiving, early Christmas, I was 160.
Wow, Sean. That's a lot of weight.
I know I need a good depression again so I can lose some of this now.
Were there like people around you that were trying to, I guess, like will you back to the
Me,
person that they wanted you to be or needed you to be, or
I have a core group of friends, and they would check in on me. Hey, are you all right? Kevin, Viva, godsends. You know, hey man, you good? Um, you want to get really raw?
take it there?
All right. Big trigger warning. I started planning my checkout.
Wow. Like you were just all the way done.
I was all the way done because for me, my life has been a life of service. Like I said, I go back. I took care of my dad till he passed. I took everything off my mom so she didn't have to stress it. From his doctor's appointments all the way to planning the service, planning the funeral. I took care of it. So mom didn't have to worry about it. Mom passed. It's just me now.
So in your mind, you didn't think that there was any more service left for you to give.
Mm-mm. I done it all. It is a hard ache, and I'm gonna jump a little bit here, so I hope you bear with me. I lost my. I'll give you the rundown. I lost my
Mhm.
dad in 2017. I lost my older brother in 2019, and I lost my mom in 2023. My brother was my best friend, and when you wake up and you don't have, no offense, Kevin, um, when you wake up and you don't have that person,
Mhm.
I could call. Growing up, I call my brother any point, give or day, and say, "Hey, I'm in this bind, or I need your suggestion, or I need your help." Right there. So I was sitting there, and I was like, maybe it's time for me to join him. If you need a tissue, I'll wait.
No. Like it's the formulating of the
Check
question.
out.
Yeah, it's what in you shifted that made you feel like death was the better option.
When you don't have, I think I showed you. I wear my family on my arm.
Mm-hmm. We talked about the tattoos.
Hmm. And it was just, maybe it's time for me to go be with my family.
So
You don't have to take that answer. Just formulate however you want it. We'll go from there.
yeah. Um
I told you we are gonna get raw.
what what then in turn shifted that made that not an option?
I made a phone call.
To who or what?
I talked to Kevin a lot during that time. I'm pretty sure at points he'd look at his phone and just be like, God, again. And then I have a friend back home who's a retired Navy doctor. Called him. Said, hey, man, I am no good. And kind of explained where my head was. He made me call him almost every other day just to say, I'm good.
But that's like that's just such a heavy space. Like that's grief on top of depression, on top of
Or you
loss,
nailed it.
like on top of I don't know what else to do. Um, that those kinds of thoughts end up making sense to us.
Hmm.
And thankful that there was somebody that you could call and talk to. Um, Kevin said not once. Um, that you could reach out to. So then you were meditating. There was no there was
If
there
it
was
wasn't for a journal that I started keeping,
mm-hmm,
and the way I rationalized the journal, it wasn't like a dear diary, today this happened. I literally was writing out conversations with my mom.
okay.
Hey mom, today I got a raise at work. Wasn't enough, but it's something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did XYZ. And that became my daily routine. Cause when I would get off work, come home, we'd have dinner and we'd watch certain TV shows. So I was mimicking that process.
The
We'd watch
routine.
the same TV shows and just be writing and just writing. People were giving me journals for Christmas because I was burning through notebooks.
Wow.
And that became the start of trying to find my new normal.
So as you were writing, like how did that make you feel?
It was therapeutic.
Okay.
It was, like the first day, I was like trying to not grab my journal. Um, the first entry, the first day when I sat down to do it was like, "Hey, mom, it's 7 o'clock. It's time for." I think we watched Andy Griffith at 7. I was like, "Time for Andy Griffith. Hey, you be proud. I actually cooked a full meal instead of a microwave TV dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I made this, this, and this." And then it just would progress into what I was feeling at the time. Hey, I'm glad that you are no longer in pain. I am glad that you are waiting for me on the other side of glory. I'm sorry we didn't get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
you know or did I tell you enough? Did I show you enough? Did you understand this? It just became therapeutic for me.
Okay. And this is no extra therapy, like you weren't going and talking to anybody or anything like that. It was just
Except for the circle of friends that
mm-hmm.
who knew what I was dealing with, I ain't talking to nobody.
So was there anyone in that circle of friends that you had that tried to give you what I call the grief Jesus speech?
No,
Where
everybody let me process how I needed to process.
okay,
Kevin walked it beside me, like literally. I swear the man carried me at some points.
That's a good
Um,
friend.
oh, absolutely. Viva, same thing. You know, they never said it was, what do you need? It's not what they listened. I believe there's two types of listening. There's listening to understand and there's listening to talk.
Hmm.
They were listening to understand.
And that gave you a safe space to be able to
Yeah,
open up and just kind of tell them where you were.
yeah.
Well, that's good because I was afraid you were gonna tell me that like you had people that do the people mean well when they say it, but I think it's out of habit,
Hmm.
out of not being able to find what we really should say, where it's the, she's in a better place, or, God needed an extra flower in his garden. So that's, he plucked her or whatever, the kind of stuff that people say when people are grieving. Um, and the way people try to, especially when our faith is wavering, how people try to will you back
Hmm.
versus kind of letting God give you enough space to do what you need to, but always leaving the door open, if that makes sense.
It does.
So in your journal writing, like what did you do with all of the other emotions, like the numbness, the anger, the I guess
I
the
poured it out on
spiritual
paper. As
avoidance.
cliche as it sounds, I poured it out on paper.
Okay.
The anger I took to the gym. There's nothing that a lot of heavy weight and a lot of loud music can't fix. And I would get to the gym like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, stay till 4 o'clock in the morning
Wow.
because it was me and like three other people. I didn't
Okay.
have nobody around me. I didn't have to, excuse me, can you stop? If I sat down on the bench press for 5 minutes, I didn't have nobody just,
Standing over top of you, looking at you.
yeah.
Did you ever feel like in this, I guess you could call it like a spiritual silence? Did you ever feel like God was trying to reach out to you or trying to talk to you and you just were like, man, miss me with all that?
Oh, no. If there was a conversation that was trying to be had, I wasn't hearing it. You couldn't talk to me about Jesus, the church, nothing. I mean, if you did, I would engage you as a conversation. If you're like,
Hmm.
hey, I was reading in John, or hey, Pastor gave this really great word. Oh, cool. Bless you.
But that was the extent of it. Like someone couldn't talk to you about giving your life to the Lord or coming back or anything like that.
Mm-mm. I was in a state of anger for about a year.
Wow. This just wasn't some like situational thing.
Mm-mm.
Like when you said you were done, like you were done.
I was done. There was nothing, like I said, you could say to me, there was nothing that I wanted to hear because Jesus worked for y'all.
Mm.
Didn't work for me. And I know
What
that sounds kind of like the spoiled kid. And I take that and I own it. But in the same breath, I wasn't trying to hear it.
see your folks on the other end say, and they prayed that entire year.
Make me get emotional now.
But those are the pieces of the story that you don't really get because it's you knew what you were doing, but you didn't know what the other people were doing
Mhm.
while you were doing what you were doing.
They can call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, need you here at 3. I'll be there at 2:55.
Did you feel like like pretty justified in like you walking away from God
Hmm.
and just saying like, I'm done.
Hmm. Absolutely. Because again, I'm going to sound like the spoiled kid, and that's just the perk of being the baby of the family. I did everything right, but it didn't work for me.
Hmm.
Like I said, we either needed a miraculous healing or we needed it to end.
So what what was the turning point? Like what was the thing that started you back on a path towards where you were running away from?
Oh, good question. Um, have you ever seen any movies like War Room, Courageous?
Absolutely. My pastors love those movies. The Forge, all of that.
Good, because that's where we're going. It was The Forge. The kid in it, Isaiah, was angry,
Hmm.
and I resonated with that anger. I was like, yeah. And there's a scene where he was crying out to God, and he's like, I don't want this no more. I don't want to be angry. And I'm not the type of person that wells up in tears during a movie, but my eyes were just spitting out tears like it was nobody's business.
Yeah, it hit you.
Low too. I was like, I was like, man, you ain't have to do that. And and then somehow out of me, I was like, God, I don't want to be this angry anymore. And I just sat there and I realized what I said, and I was like, yeah. I woke up with a smile for the first time in a year.
Wow.
I woke up with a smile. I said, "Oh, you listening to that one? Okay."
It I can't even say that. Like I think sometimes the way we perceive things
It,
is what
I
causes
felt that
the.
whole burden, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
I felt that whole burden just literally
Mm-hmm.
lift off when I woke up in the morning. And people were even like, "Hey, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm great." They just kind of looked at me like, "What?
Well, yeah. Like, are you on something or are you really okay?
Did you have too many Red Bulls this morning?" I was like, "Nope, I'm great, good."
So, uh, that
That was the shift for me. That was the turning point.
okay. Was it? Can you say was it more intellectual? Was it more spiritual? Was it more emotional?
It was an emotional and a spiritual pivot for me.
Okay.
It was emotional because I was still holding on. You call me the Incredible Hulk. I was still holding on to all that anger. And when I was like, God, I don't want to be this angry anymore, take this off of me. That was the pivot. Waking up, feeling that relief, feeling that, I don't want to say joy, but feeling, not burdened.
Mm-hmm.
That was the spiritual shift.
So then, what did you just go back into like jump right in and start reading your Bible and going to
Oh,
church and
absolutely not.
like you had this whole like epiphany moment. Did we go back to what we were already doing, or
No, ma'am, not in the slightest.
so what was the next
Well,
piece?
the next piece, believe it or not, came out of TikTok.
Okay.
I was scrolling and there was a clip of a pastor. I was like, "Huh." And was telling a guy that ran, he's like, you can't keep run up in here like people will shoot you. I was like, wait a minute, is this church back home? So, he was praying over a guy that was struggling.
Hmm.
And that built in my algorithm because I stopped.
Okay.
And I watched the whole video and I was like, that was powerful. Scroll, next one. And then I started seeing videos for 2819 more and Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin and Viva would send me uh, Miracle Church of Baltimore. Pastor Burst scares me sometimes when she yells. I learned to listen to her at home.
More than the pastor from 2819.
I'll have it. Make sure ain't nobody from work listening. I'll have an earbud in on Sunday so I can catch a Sunday service.
Okay.
And she shouted, and I jumped like the Holy Ghost had touched me. So I was like, okay. So I was like, gotta listen to you at home. Gotta watch these videos at home. That way, if I shout, I just scare my neighbor. So I slowly started watching more of 2819 to
Mm-hmm.
circle back. And, you know, Pastor Mitchell, shout out Pastor Mitchell, um, he just read the Bible. It wasn't, it wasn't a Joel Osteen type,
Mm-hmm.
happy, happy, joy, joy.
Smiling, happy.
It was the man took a scripture, read it, said, this is what it means. Thus saith the Lord, closed the Bible, in the story. I was like, I can get behind this. So I started watching more. And then I caught myself starting to pay attention.
Okay.
So God used 2819 as the vehicle to bring me back to faith.
Now, 2819 isn't where you currently are, right?
Nope. Digitally,
Yeah. So, where in the world are you?
I'm in North Carolina.
Okay. And he's in Atlanta, right?
Yep, 2019 is in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. So, was it was it okay to listen and to pay attention because it was far enough away that it felt safe to you, or was it just what he was doing that
It's the way
resonated?
he delivered was what I needed.
Okay.
It was the way the message came. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't sugar coated. It wasn't, you know, happy Jesus. It was in the gospel, it says X. This is why it says X. You need to do Y in the sermon.
Like I don't get me wrong, I like Happy Jesus, but I also like Flip the Tables in the Temple Jesus,
Mhm.
um,
And see, I needed more of the flip the tables in the temple Jesus.
because
So where I caught myself listening to their sermons during the work week, I would take what was listened to on Sunday and I would listen to it till the following Sunday and then
okay,
rinse and repeat.
it, I try to tell people like all of us are not going to find God in the four walls of the church, and as much as social media is a pain in the behind sometimes, social media allows people to connect
Hmm.
in such a way that you get stories like this where it's just the one thing that resonates that then makes us pay attention. So in the space where you started to pay attention, is this the space where your faith was renewed, or was it more like a
It was a slow spark.
okay,
Like, when you're starting a fire, you got the kindling and you're working at it. It didn't really it took a period of just listening for that spark to light for me.
okay? Did it make you want to find some place where you lived in person, or were you good with the
I was
digital
good.
space?
To, we're gonna segue to that in a second. I was good with tuning in to on Sunday or listening to the or watching the rebroadcast when I got off work. I was
Okay.
good because I was still getting my church in.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I'm gonna make it down to Georgia and go in person.
Yeah.
That that's gonna happen one way or another.
Mess around, you gonna move to Atlanta.
Hey, if that door opens and calling in,
You'll be further away from us. Um,
I'll drive. It took me. I made it in a day. I'll make it again.
that's true. That's true. Um, so I think when you and I talked, you said that you picked up your Bible in June.
In June.
So
June 19th to be exact.
okay, what pushed that? Like here you are getting the church part,
Spirit.
the spiritual stuff. What then prompted you to say, okay, well now I need to open the Bible?
Listening to him preach because he would always say, "Read it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Read for yourself. Don't just listen to me. Don't put me on a pedestal. Read for yourself." So I said,
Take the cake dust off of it.
hmm and I started. And I had read the Bible before, and I don't. I'm not trying to sound all gloating like I've read it from cover to cover. But I had found a plan before where it broke it up into manageable chunks where you read a
Mm-hmm.
little bit each day from different parts of the Bible. By the end of the year, you've read the whole Bible. So I printed it off and went back to work. And then I took myself a step further. I was like, all right, I'm meeting you here. I need to meet you one on one. So I went into and I built a prayer closet.
Wow.
And that's part of my nightly routine. Whether it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, whatever, before I crawl into bed, I crawl into my prayer closet.
That's such a shift from the person who was just doing the meditating and the journal writing to now you're almost back in the same place that you were,
Mhm.
but before.
I equate it to the prodigal son. The prodigal son went off, did things of the world, lived in the flesh. Here I am getting preachy now. Um, and then he realized, "Oh, I done spent my inheritance. Let me go back
Let
to
me go
and
home.
say,
Yep.
let me go home." So it was a perfect storm of circumstances for me. You know, Finding 2819 by accident or purposely,
Mm-hmm.
depends on how you look at it. You know, I will always say thank God for godly friends. Having people that will pray with you, pray over you, that is clutch. That is one of the most important things you can have.
Mm-hmm.
Give me four people like that, I'm great.
Good. Yeah. I'm good.
So
Yeah.
it go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, it just became that pivot because I was like, you know what? Yeah, we can all, say a little prayer, and you know, we got right. But I said if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. I was going to
Mm-hmm.
do it all, which leads me to your previous question. So I had some work being done at the house, and the guy saw. If you ever see my dining room table, there's a Bible and like Bible study books like stacked on it. And the guy who was doing some work, he's like, "Hey, where do you go to church?" I said, "I don't really, I was like, my schedule doesn't always permit me having Sundays." He's like, "Well, you should come worship at our church." Cool. I was actually on my way. to that church on a Sunday night where I got nudged by the Holy Spirit to go to a different church.
Oh wow.
Like I was in the middle lane and had to make a hard left. That's
Okay.
how hard the nudging was. And the pastor there actually presented a full gospel message. And he was like, and somewhere towards the end, it was something along the lines of, there's somebody, if you're not sure where you sit with God, he's like, I was like, oh, somebody told him I was coming.
Your spirit man decided to wake back up.
Mm. So he started talking, and I'm like, why is this man, talking?
Preaching your whole life? Yeah.
So, and then he did basically an altar call, and I responded. That was September 21st.
Wow. So walk me through that nudging. Like you you said before, like your spirit man took a vacation.
Mhm.
So how do we then recognize that it was it was a Holy Spirit tell me to go this way versus like a bad hot dog that I had and I need to go
Because I
this way.
never made it to the other church. I never, eh, I never made it to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
When I felt that nudging, it's like is like that's not where you're supposed to be tonight.
Okay.
I was like, oh,
Was it was it a thought? Was it a whisper? Was it a cuz
it was
like
a shove.
how did you know the church, like the one that you ended up going to?
Where I live in North Carolina is the heart of the Baptist Belt.
Okay.
So we got churches and we got vape shops. You pick your way.
Okay.
So I was going to basically to appease the guy who had done some work on my house just so he'd leave me alone.
Mhm.
But when I felt that nudging, that's not where you're supposed to be tonight. You need to be over here at Tabernacle.
Okay.
And I thought about it for a second. I was like, it's like you're supposed to be over here. So I hooked a hard left and went up the road.
Okay. And then
I made the worst mistake I could make.
which was
I walked up to one of the ushers like, "Hey, I'm new here. Where do I go?"
yeah, you can't walk into a church and tell people that you're new.
Oh, I walked out with a goodie bag, handshakes, you name it, and I tried to sit in the back pew by myself just so I could.
Sir,
Boy,
when I tell you that portion of the story is the same way I ended up at the place that I ended up. One good grocery run and let me sneak and sit in the back situation. Let me get out before these nosy church people start talking to me.
oh, I had the gift bag.
Gotta love it. Um, so now you're at Tabernacle. How long were you there before you decided to rededicate?
Seven
Yeah,
days.
couple days.
7 days.
And what was the driving force or the thought behind that? Like what was the push?
For me, it was I'm not going to do this halfway. I'm not going to say, "Oh, I'm a Christian," or I prayed a prayer. You know, we gonna do this. We're going all in. We 100 miles an hour. Because if you look in Scripture, it was the disciples that did the work.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted beyond just the salvation. I wanted it all, and I still do.
And how did that moment feel knowing what you had just gone through or brought you up to that moment?
Oh, it was a rebirth. When I There's a cool little passage when Jesus was baptized, and it's something you've probably read 65,000 times.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things. But it says when John baptized him, he prayed. So when I went under the water, I prayed. And that was when I came up, that was the start for me. That was the okay. I'm paying attention to what Pastor Miracle Church says. I'm paying attention to what Pastor Mitchell says. You know, now I'm sitting here with a notepad.
Hmm.
You know, it became more of it. It was like the spark went.
Now, how is this? We use the word rededication, in church colloquialism. How is this different from the first time you committed your life to the Lord?
Because I've been through Gethsemane, I've been through hell, and now I'm back again. The first time was at a tent revival, and I'll never forget the little lady who made me sit down beside her.
Mm,
Because I had come from work, because the revival was in a big field close to where I was working, and I kept, feeling nudged to go check it out, go check it out. Now these were people dressed nicely, when I got there. So I was standing on the outside of the tent. I had on polo work boots and, jeans. I looked like I had just come from work. These people are dressed more like you are, dressed nicely. And this little old lady saw me standing on the outside of the tent, and she patted the seat beside her. And I was like, mm-mm.
like, no, I'm not coming to sit there.
And she patted the seat harder. I said, mm-mm. And I stepped forward so she could see that I was not dressed for church. She patted the seat again. I came, sat down. I was like, ma'am, I'm not, dressed for this. She said, if you don't shut up and listen, yes, ma'am.
I love old people.
Oh, I'll never forget her. And when I get to glory, that's the first person I'm gonna look for.
Wow. That much of an impact.
Because had she not, and this was back before I met Kevin, so we're talking like early 2000s. Had she not tapped that seat, I would have never had that first moment.
Mm. So you've gone through such a crazy transition, such a crazy space of just lows and highs and mids and flips and turns. Like what does healing, let's do two parts. What does your, or what would you tell somebody your healing journey looked like from
A
start?
roller coaster.
Why that?
Because it wasn't, point A to point B. We went from here to down here, then we swung back around. We picked up some strangers. It's been a loop. And
Good.
I am so thankful for the ride.
So in that same vein, what does your, would you say that your faith journey kind of mimics that roller coaster, or was it a sharper
I would
drop?
say this faith journey has a deeper drop. To use an image of a roller coaster, it's got a deeper drop. It's got, the spirals. But at the end of the day, I know where I stand. I know where my feet are. If I walk around the house, and I'm pretty sure the lady next door to me thinks I'm crazier than a hen, But if I walk around the house, rebuking the devil or praying over my friends, I know where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kingdom authority now.
And you're gonna have people shouting in the comments here in a minute. Um,
The biggest part for me, the best, the most beautiful part is actually seeing my prayers answered.
mm. So how is that different from you asking God to answer your prayers when your mom was transitioning to now seeing the manifestation of those prayers?
It's like you remember that joy you felt when you were a kid and you ran under the Christmas tree and you got that first present?
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest way I can describe it. A friend, real close friend of mine, her mom was going through some medical issues. Prayer journal, right on my prayer wall. That way, when I sat down, I covered her in prayer. She went into remission January of this year. Check. Ain't God good?
Mm-hmm.
That's where my joy is now. If you
So,
had to line me up,
uh-huh.
think of the Apostle Paul.
Okay.
When I had my Saul to Paul moment.
So just, glad that you used a reference that now I can use. Um, Paul thought, or Saul thought that he knew God was this way. And then he comes to this come to Jesus moment, and then he has a space of silence. And then he's introduced to who God really is. What did that period of silence teach you, or I should say, what did you learn about God in that silent space?
It's a cliche answer,
We like
but
those.
I'm just putting it out there. I've been trying to boost ratings, so don't want to fire off a cliche answer now. But the teacher is silent during the test.
Mm. And I think that's the hard part for all of us is we're trying to figure out if we're doing good during the test. And the teacher can't give us the answers, or it's no point of the test. But it just it's just that transition space in what we decide to do with it, I guess. Yeah, yeah. So what does if you ran into somebody else who's feeling that distance, like what words would you give them to help them through like the silent space?
To be honest with you, I just listen. I wouldn't give them any advice.
Mm,
I would say, hey, this is what I did. This is what I went through. If this helps you avoid a landmine, I will gladly tell anybody any mistake I've ever made.
okay.
If I can help somebody not step on the same mines that I've stepped on, whether it be a relationship, whether it be spiritual, whether it be financial, whether it be career wise, if somebody can take some ounce of wisdom from my 39 years of life and take something from it, then I've accomplished what I'm supposed to do.
So let's circle back because
Okay.
we talked about the the grieving of someone who isn't here
Mhm.
anymore, but you had the relationship with the person who you tried to make lifetime or more permanent situation for a temporary situation.
Hmm.
Let's talk about the grieving of that, because you know it
Okay.
it's funny to me, and I tell people this all the time, that when God deals with me, it's always in neon signs, and it's always either in something that I'm getting ready to do or something that I'm not getting ready to do, or it's something that's coming down the pipeline. And you sent me a message that was like, um, grieving somebody that's still around.
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
So though she ghosted you, it was somebody that was still around.
Hmm.
So what did that grieving process look like?
Oh, we going after dark
Yeah,
now.
come on with it. Come on with it.
It was coming to my own answers. Relationships come, relationships go. Friendships come, friendships go. If it would have been, hey, I don't see the same outlook, same future as you, cool. I had to come to my own conclusions. I had to find something that made sense to me, and I had to stick with it. And in this era of social media, it's a pain because one scroll the wrong way, she could pop up in my feed,
Facts.
and I'm like, nope, that's not my friend no more. Um, so it was. I go back to journaling. That was part of the process for me. Hey mom, I know you'd have the right words. I don't know what went wrong, but I don't know how to pick myself up. You know, to go from having communication with somebody every single day to battery fully charged,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard jump.
Especially when you're dealing with something as heavy as grief,
Mhm.
because it's the person that you
Loved.
are, yeah, and the person that it's the safe space,
Mhm. That
to.
was my safe space. That
Mhm.
that was the hardest part for me to wrap my hands around. Like I accept people, like I told you, season or reason, but I lost that safe space.
Yeah.
And again, this is where I say thank God for godly friends, because Kevin, Viva, we talked more during that time than I think we've talked forever. Um, but they created that safe environment for me. I had to backpedal a little bit. For Went to her house for a meal,
Hmm.
and she was in a different town, so was about 20-30 minutes, give or take. So I stopped at 7-Eleven and got a drink. And the lady looked at me and she said, "You look like you're going to a funeral." I said, "Huh?" She said, "You look like you're going to a funeral." And in the back of my mind, I'm going, probably am. Because you see the writing on the wall,
Hmm.
but you don't want to see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, Everything that I was, seeing, I was justifying, oh, this is a rough spot. We'll get through it. And there's a little troubleshooter that has sat on my shoulder for like since the 90s. And he was like, "Are you paying attention yet, stupid?" Nope, 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 nope.
Because it's the comfortable place, so it's like, to your point, like, you justify all of the flags, like, oh well, it's just because I'm going through this, or now they're having a rough day, or what have you, instead of just,
That red flag just smacks like,
man, listen, just sitting on the top of the mountain waving at me.
and I was coming up with everything I could to go, oh, we'll get through this.
Hmm.
I love her to death to this day. can stay over there. But because I realized what her role was now, her role was to get me from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm forever thankful for that. My mistake was trying to make B to C.
Mm-hmm. And and I think we all make that mistake. Like it don't even have to be, as dramatic, but I think sometimes we latch on to people and you try to create forever because it feels comfortable, and that's not really what it's supposed to be. So what's your outlook on relationships now after dealing with that?
The dating pool got P in it in the deep end.
Said all the single people everywhere.
They're
Well, at least
big loose pots
he
of
did
water.
say he was single and he would relocate. So there you go. Um, but no, this is a man in his healing era. So don't be messing stuff
Oh,
up.
I am so protective of my peace now. It's not even funny. I've gone out on dates here and there, and if that vibe is off or if that discernment kicks in, it's like, mm-mm. Hey, you know what? I had a really good time.
Not
See you
again
next
though.
time.
That and that's a good thing
Mhm.
because sometimes even though we get healed in this one area, like we tend to repeat patterns, and not really walk in that space of my piece is important to me and I'm not gonna let nothing wreck that. So
Oh,
if you come in
recovering
here
that
with foolishness,
was, it has been everything to me. If you're not adding to it, it's a subtraction game.
mm. So but what does adding to it look like? Not necessarily just from a relation like a dating relationship space, but you develop new friendships and all that kind of stuff. What does that you have to add to my piece look like?
Security.
Mm,
If I can sit down with you and have an honest conversation, and that's one of the things I love about Kevin. Kevin will call me up and be like, "Hey man, you're lagging on this," and I'll argue with him. I'll be like, "Nah, man, no, I'm not," but probably right. But it's that adding to it. If I can talk to you and I can actually see my words matter, or if you're just you have to be able to add to that.
okay.
And that was one of the things I liked about meeting you and Courtney. It wasn't, ooh, wonder if they're gonna like me. Mm. It was a natural addition to my family. It wasn't that awkward. Mm, I can't believe they brought him. It was a natural, smooth
Hmm.
transition.
Yep. Now we can't get rid of you.
Nope, you stuck.
Stuck with you now,
hmm
and I am perfectly okay with that.
If I say you're my family, I'll slap the devil for you and won't think twice.
Courtney says
Love
she'll
you
be
too,
up
Courtney.
to you. Look at that. So here are some. This is a newer part of the show. Um,
Oh, we got all kinds of firsts tonight.
I know. So what I used to ask people, Sean, when they came on my show was, which do you prefer, coffee or tea? And because people kept coming back on the show, it made the question irrelevant. So
Oh, so there's hope for a second time. Hot dog.
there's always a hope for a repeat. repeat appearance. So now the question is sip and spill.
Okay.
So this is the new portion. It's one question in the sip category, one question in the spill category. So um the sip is just kind of like the um I guess you could say it's the precursor. It's like it should be the easier of the two questions. And then the spill is a little bit more or could be a little bit more in depth.
Let's
Um
do it.
I tell people, so the rules, you can pass if you want to, you can keep it general, or you can talk about it as much as you want, but it's just where we're going.
Let's go.
So the sip question is, give me a healing truth you wish you had learned earlier in your healing journey.
Sun will come out tomorrow.
Now that's very cliche-ish.
It's the truth. After 40 days, that 41st day, the sun came up.
Mm,
So there's always that brighter day ahead. And coming from me, who sat at that very, very low end of the table, going, I don't see that brighter light.
mm-hmm.
Looks like a train coming. It
Seeing as
is
light.
literally that the sun will shine at some point on day 41. So the healing truth for me really is it is okay to be absolutely not okay. It is okay to tell people, hey, I am falling apart. It is okay to look at your best friend and say, bro, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's the day 41.
Yeah, and I think for some of us, and some of us, I mean me, those I don't know what I'm doing moments are the most uncomfortable spaces to be in because I always have an answer. I always can solve the problem. I can always figure out how to make it better. But there recently have just been some moments where I have no idea what it is that I'm doing. I don't know what the answer is. Uh,
And you know what I've learned in that? I'm gonna hit you with one word, and the church chat gonna shout,
church chat gonna go off. Okay.
submit.
Mm,
And that was the hardest thing, and it's still because I like to have my hands on the wheel,
mm-hmm.
but to submit, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Submit. God, is this relationship for me? Submit. Is this job for me? Submit.
Yeah, that's in all honesty, that has always been an issue for me. Some places it's easy for me to do that. And then other places it's just, all right, God, I hear you, but I'm finna do it this way.
And you're gonna get wrecked just
Yep,
like I did
every time.
every time.
And you would think I would learn my lesson from that. Um
Same.
all right, here's
Hit me
your
with the spill.
spill question. A time that you thought you were regressing, but later realized that you were growing.
This whole journey.
Okay.
Because from the moment in watching the forge and breaking into tears and saying, God, I don't want to be this angry no more, to going to finding 2819, finding Miracle Church about and actually listening, going to Tabernacle on Sundays, to kicking off the year with my annual 40-day fast. This whole thing has been for me to be able to look at people and go, here's a piece of my life. Take what you can from it.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole journey,
Sean, I have in the span of an hour, I've learned so much about you.
hopefully good things.
Yeah, they're all really good things, but it the weaving of the orchestra, the weaving of the tapestry is what I was about to say. Um is just like how we're all connected, and to think about just some of the experiences that you've had, and then some of the experiences that I know Kevin has had, and now me being able to now throw mine in there and say, okay, now some of the experiences that I've had, and how a lot of the pieces of them are very similar,
Hmm.
and how just seeing the the wavy lines, the ups and the downs, and all of that kind of stuff, and just seeing how at the right point all of our lines intersected,
Hmm.
and how those intersections are now moving to something different is like it's really cool. It's kind of weird all at the same time, but Kevin, what is this? It it's just a cool journey, and I'm happy that I got to sit down with you today to talk about this healing space, because again,
Not linear.
yes, like at all. And I think that's something that we try to tell ourselves, and then when it's not that, we tend to crash and burn because we think it's supposed to be a straight line, and it doesn't. And sometimes that line isn't a line, it becomes a circle, and then sometimes it's concentric circles, and sometimes there's a break in the circle and it becomes a trapezoid, and all of these other types of things. And it's okay for your healing space or your journey not to look the same as mine, and my journey not to look the same as Kevin's, and so on and so forth. So I truly appreciate you, like, sharing even the ugly parts
You
of,
can't tell a story if you don't tell the whole story.
man, you'd be surprised.
And that's, I'm gonna steal your show for a second.
That's okay.
And that's why I'm so open about my struggles, because if one person hears me say, "Hey, I was this close to checking out," it's okay to not be okay. Find somebody to talk about it, somebody that'll listen, whether it be me, whether it be your friend, whatever the case may be. If somebody hears me and they go, "Wow, I thought he had it together," and he's pretty open, that's somebody who feels better going to somebody saying, "Hey, I'm not okay."
Hmm.
That's why I give the whole picture. I give the ugly parts, the pretty parts.
And that's the piece that I think always needs to be said. Like, everybody's got a past, everybody has had problems, everybody's had situations that may not have shown the best of them. And in some of those spaces, we we weren't the best we weren't the best advocates of what God can do. And I think even in those spaces, like, that's okay still,
Mhm.
because number one, God doesn't expect us to be perfect. Number two,
We expect ourselves to be perfect. That's where we
fact,
fall.
uh, humanity does not mean that we are without emotion. Um, we probably the most emotional beings on the planet. Um, and emotions can cause you to do some things that may not necessarily be the choice that you want to do, um, but it's how you were feeling at the moment. And though your feelings are valid, it causes you to make choices that sometimes aren't the best choices, but that's still a part of the journey that you're on to get wherever it is that God's trying to get you to so that you can be healed. And
Any questions in the chat you want to field, or
I'm getting ready to ask like if anybody in the chat had any questions. Um, Kevin, this means coming through the other side of mental health. Brian said your story can save someone's life.
God willing?
Shannon says, stay, your story isn't over. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, Miss Shannon.
Um, so, guys, if you have any questions for Sean or if you have any questions for either of us, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you enjoyed the show, you can say that too. Um, while we're waiting to see if there are any questions, Sean, let's go ahead and ask you the old question. So,
Okay.
which do you prefer, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Do you drink like a special kind of tea, or is it just black tea? Or
Earl Grey black.
all right, come on, Captain Picard with the Earl Grey.
There you go. I knew I liked you for some reason.
Come on now, I can't see Earl Grey without thinking of Captain Picard. Like it's just a staple. Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I got a box sitting right next to my Keurig.
I didn't even know they made them in Keurig pods until
They
like I
don't.
walked
I just
into.
I run the hot water through, let it steep in the cup.
Wow. Oh, thanks, Kevin. Brian said, "Awesome." So, well, it doesn't it looks like we did a good job, Sean, because it looks like nobody has any questions.
I had to come hard. This is the first show. I had to get you off to a start.
And that's really what the arc for this season is about. Oh, of course Kevin will have one.
Okay, what we got?
Where do you go from here?
Be a little more specific,
All right, Kevin, you gotta be a little bit more specific. What
because I'm going
where
to bed from here. So I'm just
Sean said I gotta go to sleep. Um so while we're waiting for the next part of Kevin's question, Courtney says this was very deep and powerful. Great job. Thanks, Courtney,
thank you.
who is also we're waiting for the debut of her podcast as well. So we look forward to that. Um, come on, Kevin, you gotta type faster than that. Or Viva type it for him, moderator in the building. Um, that's not accurate. So apparently, Sean, you have set the bar so high that one of my viewers says they can't nobody come behind this show.
Thank you.
Uh, thank you, Shannon. Amazing show. Kevin says, okay, so where do you go from here as moving forward with your faith in life?
Wherever cliche answer, here it comes. Wherever I'm supposed to go.
Okay.
If it's guiding people around here, offering the wisdom that I've accumulated. I don't want to say accomplished. If it's, if a ministry door opens for me and I'm supposed to walk into ministry, I go. It's This is all in God's hands now.
Okay.
To paraphrase the late Bray Wyatt, I'm just a servant now. I go where the circle takes me.
No, that's right. Courtney says, what does the next chapter look like?
Another trip to Baltimore.
Come on, man. I will have a whole party just so you
The
come
next chapter for me
back.
is whatever is finding the beauty in the day. If somebody comes along, again, hey, out here, um, if somebody comes along, and we start doing life together, wonderful. If nobody comes along, I'm at the age now, and I think it was Marlon Wayans who I'm going to steal from. I'm at that age now where I have more years behind me than I do ahead of
Hmm.
me.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to waste another single one.
yeah. I feel you on that one. Look at this all in the comments. Courtney says she loves the answers. Shannon said amen. And Kevin said two fat guys coming back March the 7th. Y'all taking time off? Nobody told y'all could do that. Um, all right. Well, since y'all don't have any more questions, again, Sean, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Uh, you will be back. There is no. I think you're gonna be back. You're gonna be back. Um, we just have to figure out what the where in the show process. I have to send you the list of the show topics, and you tell me where you want to be. Um, because I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
I have too. And the biggest compliment I'm going to pay you is I trusted you enough to have it.
Now you're gonna make me cry. Now stop it.
That's
Uh,
the truth. I don't remember who brought it up. I think it was either you or Courtney talking about trust.
mm,
Trust isn't given freely. Trust is earned.
yeah.
And from the moment I met you, from the moment I met Courtney, I felt comfortable. I've trusted you. And when you pitched this show out, I was like, I trust her enough to have this conversation because I knew where I was going to swing it. And I felt safe enough with you to have that conversation. So thank you.
Mm, you're very welcome. Very very welcome. Um, I don't. I don't. At the end of the day, everything that I want to do, I either want to help or inspire. And it has been my life that dictates that I am what I call the orchestrator of stories. And there's a Bible verse um, in the book of Psalms, uh, chapter 78, I think it is, where it talks about um, telling the stories to not only our children, but to the next generation of the goodness of God. And that is what I feel like I've been purposed in life to do. It just shows up in this way. And I do not take for granted when people say that they feel safe talking to me, because that is purpose working in my life. So you saying that just confirms that for me.
I got a verse for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is for anybody that's struggling right now, that's under the sound of my voice. Yeah, I'm going to get a little preachy here.
Come on.
Joel chapter 2, verse 12 says, return to me with fasting, with weeping, rend your heart, not your garments, rend your heart. Pour your heart out to God right now. And I promise you, day 41 will be here.
Amen. Like how do you end after that? Like all of the regular colloquialism, all the stuff that we usually do, like at the end of the show, like feels like we should have did that already. But you know, at the end of the day, there's always an opportunity for you to come back. And it doesn't have to
I'm
look the
proof.
same, doesn't have to look neat. It does not have to look tidy. It doesn't have to look textbook. It's just the simple fact of the matter that there's always a way for you to come back.
Hmm. I'm proof.
Living testimony for this whole hour. So,
And the devil tried to stop this conversation from happening.
man, listen, couldn't get the microphones together. iPad wasn't connecting, but to God be the glory
Yep.
that
Amen to that.
it needed to happen, and that's the benediction. So, again, Sean, thank you
My
to
pleasure. Thank you.
everybody that has watched and has stayed with us throughout this entire show. Make sure you share. I don't think there's ever been a show that I have wanted other people to see so much, but this is a show that needs to be shared. So if you haven't already shared it on your socials, share it on your socials because you never know who's waiting to hear this so that they can get the healing and the deliverance that they need as well. Uh, Follow the page, Facebook, Coffee with the letter N T. If you go to YouTube, it's the word coffee, the word and the word tea. You'll be able to see the logo. Hit the button so that you'll always be around and get the notifications when we go live for what is to be a really interesting season for season 3. So I think I have said everything that I'm supposed to say. Um, yeah,
I
I
have
don't.
to end this with a laugh for you, though.
Okay.
The clear people have arrived.
Hey, man. And we are excited that the clear people are in the building. So, guys, have a great evening. Catch y'all on the next time.